Hello, and welcome to HBM's Cryptid-Corner for Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. We have a few things to talk about, so let's get started. First of all, I want to highlight Cliff Barackman's database contents on his website, cliffbarackman.com. Yes, and I'm referring to his footprint database, by the way. He has copies of these casts and the stories behind them. He's allowing us to see this stuff on his website. Now, this is free, by the way. All of it is free. Casts from all over the country: Arkansas, Oregon, Georgia, Washington, British Columbia, different places, New Mexico even. So, for those of you who are interested, that's at cliffbarackman.com. But I'll include the link to this below for you guys to check out. Now, here's an interesting story. Loch Ness Monster, in quotation marks, photographed off coast of England. A puzzling picture snapped by a woman in England shows a strange anomaly that emerged from the water off the country's coast, and the oddity's uncanny resemblance to the Loch Ness Monster left many wondering if the famed cryptid could be on the move. According to a local media report, the strange sighting occurred this past weekend in the seaside community of Clevedon, as Anna Purse and her daughter Grace were strolling along the shore. Their walk took a weird turn when the duo noticed something rather unusual had appeared in the water alongside the community's historic pier. It moved all the way along the sea in front of us whilst we were sat there, Purse recalled, knowing that both she and her daughter immediately likened the anomaly to the Loch Ness Monster by virtue of its peculiar shape. The pair captured a photo, seen below, of the curious sight, which does indeed look like the iconic image of Nessie which comes to mind when many imagine the legendary cryptid. That said, fears that the monster may have escaped from Loch Ness appear to be unfounded, as Purse indicated that the creature turned out to be merely a piece of driftwood that just looked so unusual. So it turns out it's just driftwood. Better luck next time, right? Although it does look a little bit like, perhaps, a Loch Ness monster. But it's just a strange piece of driftwood. Oh well. Here's something interesting. Watch. Trained passenger photographs Bigfoot in Rocky Mountains. And yes, the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization is involved with this. Or they're involved in taking a look at it.
Rocky Mountain Sasquatch. A guy named Brian sent us the following photo. I'll show you around the location he captured this photo and give you the backstory of how it was obtained. Brian S. writes RMSO. I have a picture that I took in Georgetown, Colorado just last September that I would like to share with you. RMSO responds, Hi Brian, we did a Bigfoot expedition to the Georgetown area in Bailey investigating a few sightings sent to us a couple of years ago. Brian S. continues, I was riding the train and snapped pictures. I didn't notice the figure until I reviewed the photos afterwards. He sends us the photo with the caption stating, It looks like a Sasquatch to me. RMSO responds, Looks like it was taken early October.
Okay, apparently this is supposed to be the figure in question. But did it move, is my question. Did it actually move? Or was it just standing still? If it was just standing still, then I would say that it was probably nothing more than an optical illusion. You have to ask these questions. Apparently, the Rocky Mountain Suspect Organization did not ask these questions. But I would ask these questions.
We have rode that same train. Did you find out if they placed a Bigfoot statue along the 1 mile loop train ride? Brian responds, I asked, but nobody said there was one. I can send another photo circling the location of where the photo was taken if you're interested. RMSO continues, sure, we would like to see where the photo was taken. Have you been back on the train to look at the same spot? Brian responds, no, I haven't been back. I'll send the picture showing the location. The photo was taken along the stretch of track taken in the direction facing away from Highway 6. I think it would have been facing south. As far as wondering if it was a statue placed there by the train employees, I wondered the same thing, so I did a little research and found no other photos like that online. I feel like if it was a statue, there would be other photos out there. I also feel like the train employees would have pointed it out, or at least tried to pretend it was a real by saying something during the ride. I could be wrong, but that was my thought. RMSO responds, because the witness did not notice the subject in the photo and it appears that the train full of people did not notice it, we can't rule out a person that is standing there head to toe in dark clothes and dark hoodie, standing perfectly in the shadow.
Well, this is surprising. The Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization says they can't rule out a person. Usually they just jump right in. Bigfoot! It's a Bigfoot! That's what it is! It's a Bigfoot! Wow, I'm surprised. Maybe they've been listening to me. Maybe they're actually taking some lessons on how to actually investigate something rather than just jumping in and saying immediately that it's Bigfoot.
Shadows, making it look almost black in color from head to toe. We also can't rule out a statue or a cutout. If anyone knows of a statue or cutout along the Georgetown Loop Railroad, please send us a photo or a link. The subject does have a domed head and is Bigfoot style and shape. I hope you guys enjoyed. Keep on watching. We're gonna keep on squatching.
A passenger aboard a tourist train in Colorado snapped a peculiar photograph that appears to feature a sizable figure standing in the wilderness, and some suspect that the curious anomaly could be Bigfoot. The intriguing picture was reportedly taken by a man named Brian as he was riding the Georgetown Loop Railroad, which runs approximately 2 miles through the Rocky Mountains. Although the image was captured back in September, it only came to light this week when he shared it with the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization, indicating that neither he nor any other passengers noticed the oddity at the time. He explained that he only spotted the possible figure in the picture when he later perused his photos from the trip. Although Brian conceded that the creature could have been some kind of fabrication placed along the ride to surprise and delight tourists, he observed that no one from the train company called attention to the peculiar figure as they went past it. Additionally, he says, an online search failed to find any photos of a faux Bigfoot as seen from a passenger aboard the Georgetown Loop Railroad. This would seem to suggest that the proverbial quote-unquote statue theory is rather unlikely, unless Brian was somehow the first person to spot it, in which case we hope that he wins some kind of prize. What do you think he photographed from the train? Could it be Bigfoot, or as skeptics will suggest, is it merely a trick of light and shadow, or perhaps even a small tree? Weigh in at the C2C Facebook page. I think it's either a person or some kind of optical illusion, or maybe it is a statue or cutout. Who knows? I am surprised that the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization actually said that they thought that they couldn't rule out a person or a cutout or a statue, because usually they're the first ones to jump right to it being Bigfoot. It's got to be Bigfoot. They've usually been wrong 9 times out of 10. So I'm surprised this time they actually used a little bit of objectivity. Very surprised. Video. Webcam watcher lays claim to first Loch Ness Monster sighting of 2023. Here's a video of something. Some sort of so-called unexplained disturbance. A diligent webcam watcher has laid claim to what he believes to be the year's first sighting of Loch Ness Monster. Ireland's Eoin O'Feldigan reportedly captured the curious moment by way of a live stream located at the Shoreland Lodges. While watching the feed last week, he was surprised to see what he describes as an unexplained disturbance on the water as the webcam pans across Loch Ness. A few minutes later, O'Feldigan noticed another unusual surface agitation, which he also believes was caused by the legendary creature. I couldn't believe what I was viewing, he marveled, and it all happened so fast. Fortunately, the seasoned virtual monster hunter was able to capture both incidents for posterity. Around 18 seconds into the clip seen above, O'Feldigan notes that something moves on the surface for a couple of seconds, and you see two shadowy wakes moving in two lines under the surface. The second possible sighting, seen below, features at the 9-second mark a large, white, round disturbance on the water, which he argues is too large to have been caused by a jumping fish. You may not see a body, O'Feldigan mused, but there is definite movement in the water that cannot be explained by natural occurrences. By virtue of the two curious clips, O'Feldigan believes that the first Nessie sighting of 2023 is in the books, though not everyone will agree with his assertion. As of now, the official Loch Ness Monster Sightings Register has yet to recognize either of the videos, and is unlikely to do so following a 2022 change in policy wherein they now only accept webcam reports if they contain footage of clear facial features of an unknown creature. Due to this schism in the Nessie hunting community, one might say that O'Feldigan's sighting is the first of the virtual variety this year, while we wait for someone actually at Loch Ness to be credited with the first on-site report in 2023. Excuse me. Well, in my opinion, unexplained disturbances usually have a more mundane explanation to them. Now, I credit Mr. O'Feldigan with being diligent in watching the cameras, but I'm not necessarily so sure that he's actually seeing Loch Ness Monster. Unless we see something surface, I can't credit him for seeing the Loch Ness Monster unless it surfaces. Strange and unexplained disturbances are just that, strange and unexplained. Doesn't necessarily mean the Loch Ness Monster. So I would just caution people to be careful when they're examining these cameras, examining these camera feeds, so they don't get Nissy fever, as it were. A boat-swallowing sea monster of Norse legend still lives today. If you hang around the cryptid world long enough, you may come to the conclusion that every U.S. state has its Bigfoot, every lake has a lake monster, every country has a werewolf, and every ocean has a kraken. It is the last one we're talking about today, as modern researchers studying the Icelandic version of the kraken, the most well-known of the legendary sea monsters, think they've found the Hafgufa, still living today. Before you go measuring your boat to see if it's bigger than the Hafgufa's gaping ship-swallowing jaws, let's find out what it really might be. There is a fish not yet mentioned which is scarcely advisable to speak about on account of its size, which to most men will seem incredible. There are, moreover, but very few who can tell anything definitive about it, inasmuch as it is rarely seen by men, for it almost never approaches the shore or appears where fishermen can see it, and I doubt that this sort of fish is very plentiful in the sea. In our language, it is usually called the kraken. I can say nothing definite as to its length or in ells, for on those occasions when men have seen it, it has appeared more like an island than a fish. Most stories of the half-gufa trace their origin to the Konungs Skuggsja, Old Norse for King's Mirror, a 13th century Norwegian text that is encyclopedic or didactic in nature, covering many subjects of the time and told in the form of a father talking to his son. In fact, that was its original purpose. The 70 chapters were commissioned by King Hakonson, the king of Norway from 1217 to 1263, to prepare his son Magnus Lagabot to take over upon his death. The king's mirror covered kingly subjects concerning trade, the herd, the royal army, chivalric behavior, strategy, and tactics, but also informed the young man about traveling the sea and Norse nautical myths of the North Atlantic like mermaids, mermen, and monsters. Nor have I heard that one has ever been caught or found dead. It seems likely that there are but two on all the ocean, that these beget no offspring, for I believe it is always the same ones that appear. Nor would it be well for other fish if they were as numerous or as the other whales, seeing that they are so immense and need of so much food. Descriptions and paintings of the half-gufa make it sound more like a massive island-sized fish or whale rather than a giant squid, but kraken was a catch-all name for sea monsters, so both were used. The most unique feature of the half-gufa, after its immense size, was the way it fed itself. Most accounts describe the creature first opening its huge mouth, then emitting an enormous belch, which spewed bits of half-digested fish into the water. This acted as chum to attract all sorts of fish to the burp buffet, whereupon the half-gufa reopened its mouth, often described as being the size of a sound or a fjord, filled it until it could hold no more, and then swallowed them down. This sounds like a monster that kings and sailors alike should avoid, even if the king suspected that there were only two in existence. Now, according to a new study, it turns out that was only one of the many things the King's Mirror and the myths that followed got wrong about the legendary ship-eating Hafgufa. How did the researchers know? They found two modern Hafgufas, and they're not the only pair either. Since 2014, similar and apparently novel cetacean feeding strategies have been observed at coastal locations in two species of Bala and Balanopterid whales on opposite sides of the planet. The secret to finding the modern Hafgufa was that peculiar way of eating, according to a study published in Marine Mammal Science by researchers of Australia's Flinders University. Study co-author Dr. John McCarthy, a maritime archaeologist in the College of Humanities at Flinders, explains to CNN that the two species are the humpback whale and the bride's whale, the only living members of the genus Balaenoptera. Recent research has found that both species reportedly perform the Hafgufa belch in order to attract live fish to eat. They keep their huge mouths open for longer than expected periods of time, and the scientists believe this was the inspiration for the legend of the island-sized Hafgufa swallowing big fish, small boats, and terrified sailors. In fact, it probably inspired sea monster stories told by Greek sailors and recorded in texts as far back as 150 CE. However, you may note a contradiction. These ancestors of today's Balaenoptera whales were real. They could very easily have inaccurate information alongside accurate information. They have no more ability to discriminate between those than they did at the time, except that we now know from modern science what species actually exist and what's credible or not credible. McCarthy notes that both the King's Mirror and the Greek text medieval bestiaries were by and large science textbooks rather than collections of folklore. In fact, in those days before cell phones, the artists who drew the Hafgufa in paintings were as accurate as they possibly could be when taking into account that what they were drawing was moving fast, and quite possibly in their direction with a hungry look on its face. That is why some drawings showing two heads might actually be a drawing of a creature with a mouth of a blowhole. By finding these descriptions in medieval and ancient manuscripts, we were actually able to give scientists a lot of evidence that they assumed was lost. Dr. Aaron Sebo, an expert in historic manuscripts at Flinders University, told ABC News that modern whale watchers at first thought this feeding technique was known as trap or tread water feeding, was something new that the whales developed to adapt to changes in the availability of their favorite foods. A depiction of a whale tread water feeding can be seen here. They now know that it has actually existed for centuries and quite likely was known by Greek and Norse sailors. They just didn't quite know how to describe or draw it. Unfortunately, the fact that more whale watchers are seeing them performing the tread water feeding technique means the whales are doing it more precisely because foods are scarce due to overfishing and climate change. Here's some illustrations of the Hafgufa. The nature of ancient historical source material means that theories linking them to real scientific or biological phenomena are often impossible to prove or disprove definitively, but the theory presented here highlights the potential value of applying ancient or traditional ecological knowledge to modern scientific inquiry. There may be much more to learn about ocean life from medieval and from historical documents that predate human pressures on the marine environment, such as biomass reduction, biodiversity loss, and climate change. Thus, the researchers at Flinders University have proven that the Hafgufa was a real creature, and the sailors and kings who wrote about them and painted them were telling us the truth. Perhaps it is time to dig deeper into our sea monster myths for more examples of the real creatures that inspired them. Like the Hafgufa, they may still be among us. So, quite fascinating. They may turn out to be just a more mundane creature like whales. But again, quite fascinating indeed. And finally, the Garden State may have more than just Sasquatch. Bigfoot follows New Jersey researcher in wildlife area. See video. Every hair on my body was standing straight up, said a man dedicated to tracking Bigfoot in New Jersey's wilds in a recent encounter. YouTube user Man of Light has been tracking creatures such as Sasquatch and a dog man in some South Jersey wilderness areas. He posted a video recently showing a tall, dark figure following him along some railroad tracks. New Jersey. A paranormal investigator in New Jersey captured photos of what he says is a supernatural creature stalking him on his way out of a South Jersey wildlife area. No, it wasn't the Jersey Devil. He says it was Bigfoot. YouTube user Man of Light has been tracking creatures such as Sasquatch and a dog man in some South Jersey wilderness areas. He posted a video recently showing a tall, dark figure following him along some railroad tracks. Man of Light said his video camera was fully charged but would not work, so he took some photos of the figure which he believed to be Bigfoot. Now, that's a long video, so I'm only going to probably play a little bit of it.
Man of Light here. What I want to share with you today is what happened to me on Saturday in my research area. I was back in these woods over here, coming out, and I heard stuff walking, couldn't see. What I did was I went up to the trees that last week Dogman and Bigfoot manifesting themselves on through the trees, and I wanted to go and check the trees out. Didn't see anything, smell anything, but I heard stuff walking around. I couldn't see anything. And as I came out, I heard something behind me, and right here, behind this branch, you can see is a Bigfoot. I don't think it's any member of the family that I'm used to, doing things with back there. I don't think it was. They wouldn't stalk me like that. But unless they were playing games, I don't know. But anyway, you can see its head's right here, where the curse is at, the shoulders, the legs coming down behind this branch. So what it did, I came this way, as I normally do, and it must have went through here and down this ravine over here, and across the woods over to these train tracks, which I'll show you in a couple minutes over here. Okay? So now I'm going to head back to the path that I was on to come in, and when I usually go out.
Okay, my question about that first photo was, where was the Bigfoot? I didn't see anything that looked like a Bigfoot, other than there was like one dark area which appeared to be human-shaped, but I couldn't really see a Bigfoot. Looked like it was behind some trees, whatever it was. Every hair on my body was standing straight up, he says in the video posted February 22nd from the Millville area. And, he says, the Sasquatch wasn't the only entity out there with him. Someone or something else had its eyes on Man of Light from the trees, he said. A week later, Man of Light used a GAUSS meter to measure magnetic strength in the area, trying to find where supernatural creatures may exit their dimensions and head into ours. He has been posting videos of encounters around South Jersey for several years on YouTube, many from the Menantico Pond area in Millville. Local DJ Joe Kelly said he's watched Man of Light's videos and even tried to spot Bigfoot in the Menantico Ponds area several years ago, but did not encounter the mythical being. The Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization hosts a Bigfoot hunt in the Garden State every year. This year has expeditions scheduled in both North and South Jersey. North Jersey expedition is scheduled from April 27th to the 30th, led by Larry Rippon. The South Jersey expedition is scheduled in the Pine Barrens region from June 8th to 11th and led by Eric Spinner. The organization does not have Man of Light's recent sighting listed yet in its recent sightings page.
Okay, so on a path going out, I looked down, and I found this gold medal that was left on a trail for me. You can see the pine needles over top of it still. I don't know if this is a footprint or not. I couldn't tell. This is kind of wide, but the metal's there, and I want to show you the metal that I have in my hand here. Get a good picture of that there, I don't know.
I won't bore you guys with too much more of this. It's interesting, but I don't know if you got a photograph of the Sasquatch or you got a photograph of something else. Really hard to tell, to be quite honest. And obviously, photographs are not going to be the thing that proves Sasquatch anyway. And that's going to do it for this week. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. You guys are the heart of the show. I always say that, but I always mean it. And I'll continue to do it as long as you guys want me to. And hey, until next week, y'all be good or be good at it. This is HBM, Cryptid-Corner.